Hello friends, welcome to Homeopathy Chronicle. Today we'll discuss about homeopathy, its discovery, word origin and its meaning, organon, word origin and its meaning, and basic cardinal principles. So the discovery of homeopathy was in 18th century. Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, who was a old school physician at the time, was practicing the prevalent system and all the treatment during that time. He felt it as atrocities to the mankind because it did not do any good for the mankind. Prevalent practices were cupping, leeching, venesection. It only led to numerous deaths on the treatment bed and no good to any human. So he stopped practicing and started a book translation work for his daily bread. This he took up because he knew numerous languages and to his love for books. So while translating Dr. Cullen's Materia Medica, he came across a phrase where cinchona bark or the Peruvian bark was given at that time for ague or malaria. And what caught his attention was not this, but the reason for giving cinchona bark for malaria was given as due to its bitterness. So Hahnemann naturally thought of other substances which was bitter and was not given for malaria. So this served as the same as that of apple to Isaac Newton. So his curiosity led him to take this cinchona bark juice 4 drams twice daily, and to his surprise he started developing symptoms like ague, which was chilliness, fatigue, fever, malaise, loss of appetite. So from this Hahnemann concluded that disease causing power of a substance in a healthy person is its disease curing power in a sick person. And this led to the discovery of new system of medicine, homeopathy, which was in the year 1796. Homeopathy is comprised of two words, that is homos and pathos. Homos means similar and pathos means disease or sufferings. So homeopathy means similar sufferings. This is based upon the law of similars. Nature's law, or similia similibus curantur, says that like cure like. And from this homeopathic principle or homeopathic law of similars is derived, that is similia similibus curantur, which means that let likes be cured by likes. And coming to organon. Organon was used before Dr. Samuel Hahnemann by two eminent people, one being Lord Bacon and another being Aristotle. Lord Bacon used the word novum organum, which means ne organon, and organon in itself means instrument of thought. And Aristotle, he used the word organon for a compilation of his books. And Organon of Medicine runs in 6 editions starting from 1810 to 1921, and the last 6th edition being the posthumous edition, which was published after the death of Samuel Hahnemann. Now coming to the cardinal principles of homeopathy. There are 7 cardinal principles, the first being law of similia, as discussed earlier, and law of simplex, law of minimum dose, followed by doctrine of drug proving, theory of chronic disease, theory of vital force, and doctrine of drug dynamization. Law of similars is similia similibus curantur, which is given in Organon of Medicine aphorism 26, where Hahnemann states that a natural affection can be cured by another when it is similar but a little stronger than the prior one. It can be different in kind, which means that a natural disease can be cured by a similar artificial morbific condition which is produced by homeopathic medicines. Law of simplex. Single remedy should be given at a time, because this is due to few reasons. One being the drug proving, which is proving of medicines or the recording in Materia Medica, was done by employing a single medicine at a time, so that what is known to us is the effect of single medicine at a time. And another is that the logic conclusion of drawing only one straight line between 2 points. This says only one simillimum can exist for a given case. So combination of similars is not possible. Another one is, if you have a combination employed at a time, you might get confused which among the following has caused the curative action and which second prescription to be followed. So if you have 3 medicines employed at a time and one among them have caused cure, that is the first phase of cure, what will be your second follow-up? Which remedy will be your follow-up? Complementary to which one? There is no remedy to be followed for the all 3 together, or else again your second prescription becomes a combination of another 3 remedies which can be complementary of the first 3, but then that's not scientific enough for homeopathic practice. So this cannot be done. And also, when there is a combination of medicines, there can be a medicinal aggravation of one while another might actively. You do not know what is the prognosis after first prescription when there is a combination of remedies. Now coming to the third one, that is law of minimum dose. Medicine should be given in minimum dose because when there is large amount of medicine employed, there can be aggravation, and this was seen by Hahnemann, and these aggravations led him to decrease the quantity of medicines. This small dose does not cause any organ damage, and this gives the finest curative property of the medicine. This minimum dose can be variant from person to person. Hahnemann has given the dose as size of poppy seed globule, but it can be variable according to the case. Now, doctrine of drug proving. According to this doctrine, the potentized medicine must be properly and thoroughly proved upon healthy human beings of all sexes, different age groups, all constitutions. Why all constitutions is because there are different constitutions which respond differently to different drug substances. So, proving it on different constitutions gives us an idea of how to go about a drug in a particular constitution. And some constitutions give excellent results where other does not give much result to a drug. So you know which drug to select to give the maximum response in a particular constitution. And different age groups, because it can give you a idea about the childhood illness, old age illness, its effectivity in particular age, and both sexes, because you can get symptoms of female complaints and male complaints, some being its effect upon menstruation, pregnancy, lactation, and menopause, menarche, etc. Then why not animal proving? This is because all other medicines other than homeopathy is being proved upon lower animals, but homeopathy requires human proving. This is because we have our system based not only upon the objective symptoms but also subjective symptoms and also modalities. This cannot be told by an animal, and the same effect of drug might be different upon a human as well as an animal because they have minor genetic differences. Even if they might have normal body physiology of digestion, excretion, respiration, but then human is not the same as a lower animal. Now coming to theory of chronic disease, Hahnemann during his time saw that the chronic diseases were repeated after a certain interval, but this does not happen in an acute case. Why? So after his long 12 years of thought process, he has come to a conclusion that there is a chronic miasm behind a chronic disease which causes it to return after a certain interval. He named it as SORA, syphilis and psychosis. And SORA, syphilis and psychosis are venereal and non-venereal. Non-venereal is SORA and venereal being psychosis and syphilis. He introduced this concept in the 4th edition of Organon in 1829. Theory of vital force. Now, vital force is the most controversial topic when other schools of medicine discuss because it's a dynamic effect which cannot be proved at present scenario with the existing scientific tools. It's like asking if God is there or not because that's a spirit, and same as that is our vital force. The entirety of vital force is governing our body and keeping it to continue in its harmonious normal physiology and anatomy. Any disturbance in this vital force will cause a disease or a symptom. So, what a disease is the essence of deranged vital force. So, he introduced this concept in Organon of Medicine 5th edition in 1833, and in 6th edition this was changed into vital energy and vital principle was changed into life principle. Now the last one, doctrine of drug dynamization. Homeopathic dynamization is a mathematical mechanical process by which the medicinal property of a substance is awakened and is developed into an incredible degree. This can be of two methods, one for the insoluble substances and another for the soluble substances. Soluble substances are succussion is a process by which soluble substances are dynamized. It can be soluble in water or alcohol. And trituration is for insoluble substances where you mix it and potendize it with sugar of milk. And merits of potentization being the material substance is reduced to avoid medicinal aggravation, and by this process we are able to use many deadly poisons including snake poisons, vegetable poisons and metals. For example, arsenic being a poisonous metal, and lachesis and crotalus being poisonous snake poisons, and nux vomica being a vegetable poison, and another one being substances with naturally inert properties like our sand is made to silicia and common salt is made to natramure. This gets converted into medicine by the process of drug dynamization. And the action of potentized medicines is deeper, longer and has a widespread action. To produce dynamic effect in the medicine, drug dynamization is a process. And this dynamic effect of medicine is the one that affects upon dynamic vital force. And this concept was introduced into homeopathy in 5th edition of Organon of Medicine, which was published in 1833. Thus we come to the session. Thank you all. Please do subscribe to Homeopathic Chronicle and stay tuned for further videos. Thank you.